calls for Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, to keep Archie and Lily away from Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis at all costs. And what is interesting is that this is coming from Americans. So I'm going to show you why they make that claim in just one moment. Also coming up, Tina Brown, the highly respected royal author, of course, former editor of Vanity Fair, once friends with Princess Diana, is revealing what Prince William's friends make of this whole debacle in terms of the royal visit. And it's damning for Prince Harry, who is increasingly unable to cope with the ongoing estrangement from his brother and sister-in-law. But first, I want to show you why Link Lauren, the royal YouTube sensation, brilliant American guy, I absolutely love his takes, believe that it would be a huge, huge mistake for William and Catherine to let Lily and Archie in, given the very weird way that they have been raised by Harry and Meghan in Montecito. Watch this.
Yes, it would be nice. I was saying it's nice for them to get to know each other, but it's been so long, and you don't know if Archie and Lily are civilized, right? They might eat with their toes and, pick things up with their feet. I don't know what's been going on because they've been living on the freaking compound like children of the corn, and like the hills have eyes, and we never hear from them. We don't know anything about Archie and Lilibet. Like, have they had their shots? That might be better that they hadn't. But what's going on? We don't know. You might not want your kids to play with them because they've been living on the compound. They might not be socialized. So I understand saying George, Charlotte, and Louis, they have busy schedules. Guess what? Our kids are real royalty and they have a lot going on this summer. They have better things to do than to hang out with your children. And if you wanted your kids to be friends with ours and with the cousins, you wouldn't have run off to the US and trashed our whole family.
Our royal mastermind, Prince Harry and Queen Camilla's biographer, Angela Levin, is with us. Angela, do you agree with Link Lauren that actually it would be a real risk for William and Catherine to allow Archie and Lily to come into their children's circle, given they are being so careful in terms of how the future king and his two younger siblings are raised?
Oh, it would be a disaster. I mean, you absolutely not. They know not to do that. Catherine would know not to do that, even though she's somebody from a family who want to forgive and get close together. But, as you say, you know nothing about the little ones. And they are very little. And so the Charlotte would be sort of quite nice to them because she is a very nice girl, but I don't think the boys would be interested at all, and I don't think it's a good idea. I think in fact it's an absolute awful idea, really. You can't.
Yeah, and again, it's Harry and Meghan
the same way. They haven't been brought up the same way, and you can't have that. If you remember when Meghan went around to see the William and Catherine, and she turned up in torn trousers and all looked absolute mess. And Catherine was absolutely shocked. Now, in a way that you've got to say the children have got to be really properly dressed. Often they go off in their night. She goes off in her nighties, Lilibet does. And you don't know what the little boy is, what he can do, what he can play, what he can be. And, I think they're so isolated by anyone. They don't really know what a family is, that it's very, very difficult for them. They've only got their mother, grandmother, haven't they?
Well, exactly. And of course, you would hope that if they were so concerned about their children having connection with their grandparents and their auntie and uncle, you would hope, Angela, that they were also currently attempting to arrange meetings with Thomas Markle Sr., who has recently moved back to America after the amputation of his leg, and also Samantha Markle. But look, I want to tell you about Prince William's friends, because they have been speaking out to Tina Brown. Tina Brown's an interesting one because, of course, she was friends with Princess Diana. She's certainly a woke-topian American who, even though she's British, but she's based in America, and for a long time she was actually very much pro-Harry and Meghan. So that's just a little bit of background. She's now turned and described what's going on this week as the Sussex circus. asking, is there any planned project or engagement undertaken by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex that doesn't boil over into chaos? Well, no, there's not. And I could have told you that a long time ago, Tina. But she writes of Harry as if he has learned nothing in the last 6 years of battling with RAVEC, the Royal and VIP Executive Committee that decides which personages in public life receive an official taxpayer-funded security detail. Harry went off like an IED, where once again he was denied official police protection for the family, and as a source close to Harry briefed, the rug was pulled out from under their feet at the 11th hour. That was to the Guardian newspaper. What rug? The only rug under the Sussexes is a flying carpet on which the two of them circle the globe in a cloud of persistent delusion. Harry is apparently distraught at the development, which isn't a development at all, but the same stance RAVEC has taken for the last 6 years and was under review again. Until RAVEC gives another verdict, the status quo is unchanged. The baffling thing about both Harry and Meghan is their repeated tendency to make premature announcements before the underlying facts have been nailed down. Indeed, all their troubles of the last 6 years have stemmed from their magical thinking that something they want will become instant reality, starting with Megxit itself. It was their reckless decision in January 2020 to publish on the Sussex Royal website their bombshell announcement that they were exiting the royal family on the dubious proposition of becoming adjunct royals with lucrative side hustles, listing terms which had never been presented or agreed to by the palace, rather like demands for a job they hadn't been offered, which created all the bitter mayhem that followed. And it's interesting, actually, because I'm personally involved in the decision for them to do that, because you'll remember I broke the story of Megxit, and Harry admitted in his autobiography Sparrow, that was something I was always suspicious about at the time, that the only reason they ended up publishing so quickly and calling the late Queen so quickly was because I had the details of the story and they were trying to beat me to it. But he was very intellectually dishonest, actually, because I had received the story on, I think it was Boxing Day, when I was on holiday in New Zealand. And I'd be working with his team for a number of days, because when I break a story, you've got to make sure that it's right and that the facts are checked. And obviously, I wasn't in the independent media at that point. I had a boss at the Sun newspaper who was saying to me, well, Dan, you've got to make sure that, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So the point being that he didn't need to rush anything. He could have let the story run. He could have allowed the story to play out, and he didn't need to publish everything so quickly. And I do think one of the reasons why the Sandringham Summit went so badly for Harry was because he rushed that announcement just to try to beat me, revealing the fact that they were moving. Anyway, just thought it was worth noting that. But Tina Brown goes on. What is genuinely sad is Harry's belated discovery that the one thing he does really well is what he was born to do, and rejected. Unlike Meghan, he really doesn't want to be a Hollywood hotshot or an amorphous influencer in designer clothes. As one of his ex-employees told me, he just wants to do public service and be paid for it, which in essence is the definition of a member of the monarchy. I'm told he misses his rugged army and country-based friends who could not be further from Montecito's precious ethos. Harry doesn't understand that the family conflict has turned into something more lethal for him than anger. And this is the key information. This is the key new information from Tina Brown. A Cold War. Except for his father, who would dearly love to reconcile with his younger son, his relatives have moved on. Earlier this month, there was no invite for Harry to the wedding of his cousin, Princess Anne's son, Peter Phillips, who had played such a critical, consoling role for Harry at Balmoral when Diana died. A person close to Harry told me he doesn't just desperately miss his father and understandably wants his children to know him, he also very much misses William, the only other person who knew what it was to be Diana's son. Too late. An old friend of William's shared with me that whenever he spent time with him in the years since Megxit, William's sense of betrayal by Harry was a constant theme. But during a recent, long conversation, Harry's name never even came up. And Angela Levin, that is the brutality of it, isn't it? That is the brutality of a Cold War that Harry has to comprehend. These decisions that he made, Angela, that he was warned about for weeks and months in advance, had impact for the rest of his life. Like, William has moved on. He doesn't actually want to play out the constant back and forth in the media. He is exhausted by it. And I actually completely agree with Tina Brown's reporting on this. It is now a Cold War. And in terms of William and Catherine, my understanding, and certainly my hope, Angela, is that there isn't going to be any movement. They're not going to allow themselves to, for example, be emotionally blackmailed in the same way that the father is. If you want more hard-hitting Harry and Meghan coverage like this with the double standards called out, hit subscribe right now and turn on the notifications. Dan Wood and Outspoken has no spin, no bias, and no censorship.
No, of course not. One point for this is that Harry made very vulgar comments about his brother and Catherine, and William was absolutely furious about what he said about her. He's very protective about her. He really loves her, and he's very, very grateful that she's helped him to be a very different person than he would have been if he hadn't met her. I know a lot of people are like that, but for him, it's let him know what a husband is and a father is like, which he didn't really get when he was young. So that's what he would keep him out the way. He has never forgotten for him for that. I know that for sure. And he doesn't want it. And the other thing is that he just finds that he has asked if he can look after the children, especially Charlotte and Louis, because they're going to be not in it all, whereas the older one will be the next king or two. And he doesn't want him to look after them. And